I definitely believe that grief should never be misconstrued as a weakness. Oftentimes, our society, I think we're always encouraged to like move on and try to move past our emotions and not let ourselves feel. But I think that is actually more harmful when you don't allow yourself to process the loss. I mean, especially when it comes to a family member who you've lived with, or at least I've lived with my brother for all those years. And so it is okay to feel those emotions, sadness, sometimes anger if he was taken too soon. It is okay to feel those feelings.
Hello and welcome back to Healing and Growing Hand in Hand podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Tickle, and I have a very special guest today. It is my daughter-in-law, Denise Clanin. Yay! Hi, Denise.
Hi, thank you for having me on here.
Sure, I'm excited. So what Denise is going to share today is she wrote a book, and I read the book, and it's very, very good. And I'm not saying that just because she's my daughter-in-law. It really is a good book. And she's going to tell her story of why she decided to write this book and become a writer. And I'll let you share what the name of the book is and the details of it. So thank you, Denise, for being here. And thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. So my book is called Among the Stars. It's a mystery romance novel. It's my first debut novel that I've ever completed. I've always enjoyed writing as a kid. I would write stories for fun, and I usually wouldn't complete them. I probably get, I don't know, a quarter of the way through and lose interest. And so over the years, I've always wanted to complete a book and get it published, and I just never got around to it until just the past year and a half when I actually took a story that I wrote for my college class. I was in a creative writing class in college, and I had a prompt to write a fictional book. And so I had written a few chapters of a very different type of mystery romance. The story, because the plot was very different from the one that is now being published, but I kind of used that story as a template. Um, I looked back at it about a year and a half ago, and then I actually began to write it and actually began to complete a book. And now this is my first book being published. And now, yeah, it's very exciting.
It is exciting. And I have to tell the listeners how hard you worked on that, because she did this while you had just had a baby. And the only time she had the time to write was when he went down for a nap, and he wasn't always taking naps. So she would take advantage of the downtime that he was in sleeping, taking his nap, and she would quickly write the book and just work diligently on it. And so you actually cranked that book out pretty fast. I was surprised. I know there was a lot of editing because that's just how it goes with a book, but it was amazing how quick you wrote that book.
Yeah, the ideas just came to me. I was not expecting to go as far as I did. I thought at least by like, yeah, the 25% mark, I was like, oh, I'm probably not going to continue with it. But then the ideas kept rolling and I just kept writing. And
Yeah.
thankfully, I had the spare time when my son was napping
That
to
wasn't
finish the book.
it wasn't very much time that you had, though. It was crazy that you got that much done in such a short amount of time. So
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, that's funny. But it's amazing, and it just shows that it really is your passion. I don't know what I expected when I wrote it, because I don't want this to sound bad, but I mean, I was really impressed with how well the book was written. And it's just because it's so foreign to me to be able to write like that. I write too, but I write different. So I was just really surprised at, how well you did. And for somebody who just is writing their very first book. So, but from what I understand, and I know the story, and I'll let you share what you want, but a lot of your writing was prompted by the loss of your brother Garrett,
Mhm.
right? So can you share more about how that experience shaped your storytelling?
So basically, this with this whole experience of writing, I wanted to kind of pay homage to the people in my life who've inspired me, my family and my friends, and especially my brother. Me and my brother, we were very close growing up. He was 2 years older than I was, and our family was very close. But unfortunately, he was diagnosed with a chronic medical condition when he was about 11 years old, called NF2, which is a disorder that causes tumors to grow throughout the body. There is currently no cure for it, and it is genetic, or meaning he was born with it. And so, unfortunately, over the years, he began to lose function of his hearing and his ability to speak. as well as having impaired eyesight. So having to watch him kind of suffer through those losses, it was a very challenging time for me and my parents, who ended up becoming his sole caregiver, um, and putting their hobbies aside to make sure they could take care of
Mm-hmm.
him. And I witnessed that because at that time I was still living with my parents, and so watching them have to make the sacrifices, and then of course my brother going through all that suffering, it was a
Yeah.
very challenging time. And so even though my brother's physical health was deteriorating, he was always a very positive person. Despite that, he loved bringing people together in community. We have a lot of close family friends who've always been there to supporting us, and we've had some like charity events that we've done
Mm-hmm.
together. There was like a race where we ran as my brother's favorite video game characters, as a way to raise funds for the the charity that helps with the people who have this condition, NF2, like my brother. So he was very good about bringing people together, and had a very contagious sense of humor, and was kind to anyone he passed by. And so um, it was just a blessing to have him in our life. And so even though it is hard for me to accept that he's no longer with us and his life was cut short, I am still thankful for the moments that we had together, and I always cherish those memories. And I guess now with this book being released, I hope that this kind of what I went through with grieving and loss, that it can resonate with other women who have also lost someone dear to them.
Hey, thank you for listening so far. If you're enjoying this podcast, be sure to subscribe so you won't ever miss an episode. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's that's a tough one. You know, I know that writing, and I talk about it on my podcast, writing is a really good way to release so much of the trauma that's happened to us. And I know, your story is a little bit different because you didn't have abuse in your family. But there is trauma. There is trauma when there's, a family member that has um, a health condition like that. It does change the entire dynamics of the family. But what I will say that I've witnessed myself is that you are a very close family, and it was very supportive. And Garrett really, I mean, he touched people's lives all over the world. It was really amazing to watch, what he's done in his life in the short time that he was here. It was really powerful. And so, and in you writing this book, I know, for me, I do a different kind of writing, but writing really helps me release as well. So yeah, I think this is, I don't know, got caught up in your story there, and I kind of lost my own thoughts there. um, okay, so you said that your writing process helped you find some healing. So what advice would you give to others who are facing grief or loss and want to express themselves creatively?
So I definitely believe that grief should never be misconstrued as a weakness. Oftentimes, our society, I think we're always encouraged to like move on and try to move
Yes.
past our emotions and not let ourselves feel. But I think that is actually more harmful when you don't allow yourself to process the loss. I mean, especially when it comes to a family member who you've lived with, or at least I've lived with my brother for all those years. And so it is okay to feel those emotions, sadness, sometimes anger if he was taken
Yeah.
too soon. It is okay to feel those feelings. And so I would definitely encourage anyone who's dealing with grief to never rush yourself to feel better, um, and give yourself that time to like adjust to that new normal, because it is going to be a very different lifestyle, and that's okay. That
Yeah, things will be different. Yeah, they'll definitely be different.
that hole that the person left behind, it can't be replaced. Like I can't replace my brother. Unfortunately, I do not have any more or any other siblings, so that hole is there. And so moving forward, I can't replace that. I can't replace him. But what I can do is um, honor him through, well, with my writing, and also our memories, like sharing those memories that I have with him, that I've had with him, with other people, and looking back at some of our old photographs. And just being very thankful for those blessings that I did have, or those silver linings that I had with him, those,
Yeah.
those special memories. And so, definitely through writing, I think it has been very therapeutic for me. Um, Sometimes it can bring up feelings of grief, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And it's okay to take a step back if you need time to process with when it comes to writing. And so I don't, for myself, I didn't try to pressure or put pressure on myself to like complete the book within a certain time frame. I just kind of wrote as I felt like it, and
Mm-hmm.
when time allotted, and went from there. And basically, just had it be a kind of a healing process, and not as a like a work, treating it like a job. I didn't want to treat it like a source of income, but more as a therapeutic so, I guess journey of kind of self healing.
Mm, that's beautiful. I love that. And it's true. And I mean, so often, I've had loss in my life, and I know that my mindset a lot of times when the loss would happen is my reaction would be, I want to hurry up and get through this because the pain is so much. And I want to hurry up and just rush through it. And because I don't want to feel the pain, I don't want to feel that deep pain. And you're right. You need to go through those emotions, because having unresolved grief is going to create havoc in you. So you're right. And I love what you said, that, as you're writing, things come up, but you would just take a minute, you would just take a break and allow that to work through you, and then go back to writing. You didn't let it stop you, and you didn't let it, throw you off. You just took a minute for yourself and allowed your body, and you allowed yourself to process that, and then you went back to it. And that's really great advice. Hey, if you're ready to go deeper in your healing journey, join my 8-week workshop, where we're going to help you get rid of all the bullshit that came from your childhood abuse and help you take back your power. Sign up today at women's childhood abuse healing workshop.com, or click on the link below. I'd love to see you there and help you get on your healing journey.
Yeah.
Very great advice. Okay, this is a good one. The main character in your book, Natalie Baker, Natalie's a hoot, her friend is even funnier, really funny, is on a journey of self-discovery while solving a mystery about her father's death. How much of Natalie's journey reflects your own?
So Natalie is does have some, I guess, some similar character traits to me. Like
She does.
I can be a perfectionist at times, and she definitely has that trait of hers. Um, I think one of the biggest comparisons between us has been our healing journey with dealing with the loss of a loved one, of a family
Mm-hmm.
member. And so we both had to take a step back and allow ourselves to figure out our new normal when it comes to dealing with the loss. Look, for her losing her father, and for me losing my brother. And I could definitely use my experiences and apply that to the character
Mm-hmm.
Natalie. And another, I guess, another similar journey, or similar, I guess, what do you call it? A similar milestone both of us have had to kind of work through has been keeping our personal identity and our careers separate. Um, bef-
Oh,
Before I gave birth to my son, our first child, I was working full time as an accountant, and that was I kind of treated that as my identity. That, oh yeah, I
yeah.
spend most of my days, or most of my time during the day, going to work and in a full time accounting position, and making that the focus of basically the work week. And similarly, Natalie actually has an even more, I guess, time consuming career. She is a medical resident doctor. So she's pursuing the medical path, and that is obviously very time consuming, and can get in the way of like your personal leisure activities and relationships with other people if
Mm-hmm.
you're not careful. But your career can be um, if you end up choosing to, I guess, you're living to work versus working to live. Keep making sure
Yeah.
that that you're treating your work as a way to live, not living to work.
Right.
And so Natalie and there's her childhood friend Justin in the book, who has even more of a problem with keeping his identity separate.
Yeah.
He is actually a movie star, or an actor. So that I can't imagine how challenging that must be, to have to keep your identity and work separate. That would be,
Yeah. In his case, especially his case, because you're out there in the public, right?
yeah. I
Because he
That's
was
a
a popular star. He was very popular. He's a popular star. He's not just some star.
Yeah, I can't imagine that kind
No.
of lifestyle. It's a very different world, and so that is definitely a theme in my book, that you keeping your personal identity separate from your career, and And so that
Yeah.
I can definitely resonate with that.
I'm glad you said that. And I was actually teaching this last night in my workshop, about your identity, because your identity is not your job. It's not that you're a mom. It's your beliefs. It's your core beliefs and values. That's what your identity is. And so often it's so common for us to make the identity, like you say, our job, or that I'm a mom, or that I'm a wife, or that I'm this or that. And that's not what your identity is. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cleared that up pretty good. Okay, so one of the central themes in your novel is the idea that everything happens for a reason. How does that theme resonate with your own life experiences?
So I've definitely seen that that in my life, where basically I do believe that God has allowed certain circumstances and people in my life to kind of shape me and help me to grow and being transformed from where I was in the past to where I am now. And I can definitely look back at the past 5 years and see how much change has been made just in that small period of time.
Mm-hmm.
5 years ago, my husband and I, we were living in Southern California, and we were in a one-bedroom apartment, and this was during COVID, so we weren't really seeing people or interacting with others because we were just working remotely in our apartment. And we were both wondering, like, when is our life going to begin? Just with wanting to buy a house and start a family, and we couldn't afford to buy a house at that time. And so I just continued to pray and wait for the right opportunity. And a year later, that was when I took a visit to North Idaho, the Coeur d'Alene area, and I was with my parents, and we just kind of looked at a couple of houses that were on the market, and there was a house that actually fit, like, checked all the boxes that my husband and I were looking for, and we put a bid on it, and surprisingly, we got the house. And a few short months later, my husband and I moved up to Idaho, and we're homeowners for the first time. And actually, a year after that, and that was when we had our son and our first child, and that was when I had made the change or the adjustment to uh, just continue my full time accounting position to stay at home with him and raise him, my son. And so that was also a very drastic life change. And then shortly after that, that was when I started beginning to write this book. I got the inspiration to finish the novel. And then during the publishing process, that was when we welcomed our baby girl, our second child, into our family. And so just so much has happened just in those 5 years. And so I do believe that all those events, everything in that order, all of that happened for a reason in that
Mm-hmm.
timing. And
Yeah.
very thankful for the growth that we've made.
You guys did a lot in a very, very short amount of time, because not only did you buy a house, move, I mean, how many miles away? I mean, you were in Southern California, you moved to Idaho, you started a new job, and then you got pregnant almost right away after you got up there. I mean, those are huge life events. One of them, you guys did them all. It was amazing. It was amazing. And then you have your son, and then you go ahead and start writing a book. So it's crazy the amount of stuff that you guys have done in just a short amount of time, and how different your lives are.
Yeah, I know 5 years ago, if you had told me that like all these things were going to happen, I wouldn't have believed you. I wouldn't
Yeah.
believe that at all.
Yeah. It's interesting. Do you remember, gosh, this was probably not too long after you guys got married, and I asked you guys what your passion was. What your passion was, and neither one of you really had an answer. You were on your adventure. You were beginning your adventure to figure out what your passions were. And it's so obvious to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but your first passion really is being a wife and a mom. I mean, it's very obvious that your passion is with your children, as well as writing a book. So you were able to do some self-discovery, and you realize that the work life isn't what you guys envisioned for your family, which is totally fine. And
Mhm.
then you rediscovered the passion that you had, and you're making something of it. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is crazy. Just that before I wasn't sure what exactly or where exactly our life was going toward, or
Yeah.
what my goals were, and then they've shifted. They're very different goals now than when we first got married.
And it happened really fast. I mean, you guys were married for a while before you moved up to Idaho, because you guys were, you had that apartment, and you were, um, you were really diligent about saving your money and everything so that you guys could make that move. But you guys were married a long time before you guys started making all these moves. It was interesting. But in that 5 years or however long it was, I don't remember exactly how long it was. I watched you guys, and you were looking for your passions. You were seeking, you were doing self-discovery. It was really, like you guys did improv, right? Or you did the stand-up,
Yeah,
right? That blew my mind.
we do. Yeah, we joined an improv class. That was that was fun.
I couldn't believe you guys did that. I mean, and I'm just sharing this because you guys, the thing that I'm really proud of both you and my son about is you guys stretch yourselves. You guys put yourself in situations where you have to stretch and you have to grow and you have to figure it out. And I'm really proud of you because I've done a lot of things, but I would never go into improv ever, never.
Yeah, it was his idea, my husband's idea, and
But you did
we went
it.
along with it. And I was like, okay, this isn't too as nerve wracking as I thought it would be.
Seriously, I mean, you two are shy. This is not, even somebody who isn't shy, that would be really hard. But this isn't, you are really putting yourself out there when you do that. So I'm telling you, I was really proud of you guys. I thought it was hilarious. I couldn't believe you guys did that. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions about this episode, or really anything that has to do with trauma. So you can comment below, or you can reach out to me at asklisatickle@gmail.com. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. Anyway, okay. Oh, I like these next questions too. So your book explores forgiveness, redemption, and hope. Why do you feel these themes are important, especially for the young adult readers?
So I do believe that we've kind of gone through a roller coaster of events in our society over the past decade. It's
True.
people, I think, more than ever have been more isolated. I think that social media has been both a blessing and a curse. And I
Yeah.
think the hard, I guess, the curse part of it is that we are more isolated and we aren't really interacting with other people. And so we've had a very much a skyrocket increase in depression and anxiety in our culture. And it's very disheartening to see that. And I do think that sometimes even I've struggled with trying to find hope when things are going when things are hard and we're going through hardship, that we can fall into that depression or anxiety mode if we're not careful. And so one of the themes of my story is that basically that there are always silver linings to be found or blessings to be found. Sometimes we have to proactively look for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always easy. I've
True.
definitely struggled with that, but there is always hope to be found. And I guess I do want to encourage readers throughout the events of my book that basically want to restore hope to a world that is broken and hurting, and that there is there's always hope to be found. And with that, it kind of similarly with redemption, I do believe that no one is a lost cause. That even no matter how broken we are, no matter how many mistakes we've made or regrets that we
Mm-hmm.
have, we're not a lost cause, and every person matters. And so I don't think nobody is too far gone. Uh, that we can always find our way back. Especially for me, I've learned through prayer that has helped me kind of finding my bearings when I've kind of had some I guess stumbling blocks along the way,
Mm-hmm.
because no one's perfect. We all make mistakes. We're human. That's just our human condition. And so I do touch on that theme of redemption. I also touch on the theme of forgiveness. Obviously, we are encouraged to forgive other people, and that's just something I've always strove to practice. But I think what's even harder than forgiving other people is forgiving ourselves. That we can get
Yes.
caught up in that guilt mode, especially when we've seen like the effects of hurting somebody else. That we
Mm-hmm.
kind of get like too hard on ourselves, where we hold this guilt within us that we need to. It's like punishing ourselves
Yeah.
and letting go. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that is, yeah, I honestly think forgiving yourself is harder than forgiving other people. And so,
Absolutely.
and it's harmful if we don't let go of that guilt. And so I do touch on that theme as well. That it's very, it helps us heal and grow if we can allow ourselves that forgiveness, the same forgiveness that we share with other people.
The one thing I know to be true with forgiveness, that is such a buzzword for people. For some people, it really upsets them. And how I look at forgiveness is really for us. It's really to release us from having any kind of resentment or bitterness, and it will stumble our healing journey as well. And so I just wanted to kind of touch on that. Forgiveness is so important, and you're right, forgiveness with ourselves. And it's interesting when I say that to the women that I coach, when I say to them that, you need to forgive yourself, the look on their face it's so foreign to them to hear that, but it's so true. And that is also critical in our walk. Forgiveness never says, especially when we need to forgive someone else, it never says what they did was okay. It's just releasing us from holding on to that bitter and resentment. And we're called to forgive. We're called to forgive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a huge thing. I mean, the first time I heard about forgiving myself, I thought that was so bizarre, and I didn't understand what that meant. And then as I've experienced life and I've realized, like you say, when you hurt people, you do need to go make that better, and you do need to ask for forgiveness, and you do need to forgive yourself for doing that, because we are human. You're right. We're absolutely not perfect, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So what's next for you as an author? Are there more stories you're excited to share with the listeners?
Yeah, so actually, I'm currently in the process of brainstorming my next book, which actually follows one of the characters of the book that I'm releasing. It's the best friend Olivia of the first book. So it's
She's
her
a character.
story from her perspective, and so there will be similar themes with when it comes to family connection, and it will be a mystery romance as well. So there will definitely be sentimental, warm, heartwarming feelings in there.
So refreshing, though. It's so refreshing.
And I will have definitely have some, yeah, mystery component to that. The setting will be a little bit different, but it will have a very, I guess it could be a very similar, have similar themes, and overall just very much encouraging that connection with other people. And that's what I want to encourage in both of these books.
Good, 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 good. Well, I will say, I read your book while I was doing heavy research on trauma, a lot of heavy research. And, it was so refreshing to go read it. It was so refreshing to get away from the heavy stuff and read something that was light and easy to read and fun and funny, and made you think. Your book does hit a lot of different emotions. Remember, I told you at one point, I was like, oh, I almost got mad at you, and I won't let the listeners know why, but remember, I'm like,
Mhm.
I almost got mad at you because I thought you were going to do something in the book and you didn't, thank goodness. But um you do get really connected with the characters of the book, for sure. um so I always ask my guests this one last question: what do you want to leave the listeners with?
So I basically want to leave the listeners with encouraging hope, basically, that there is always hope to be found. I know that sometimes we might be in a really tough situation where we don't see like a light at the end of the tunnel, that it's easy to lose hope and just say that you or assume that you can't move forward from wherever you're at. But I
Yeah.
want to encourage you that there is still hope. There are silver linings even when it seems like there aren't any. That it does involve us to kind of actively look out for those blessings and those people in our lives. I do think that a lot of the healing I've gone through has been helpful, or because of the people that I've had in my life, my family, my
Hmm.
friends who've supported me throughout the process with losing my brother, and also when I was going through learning how to take care of a child. When I had my son, I had no experiences being a first time mom with barely any babysitting experience. That was also a very challenging time. But having those people in my life that I could come to for advice, and kind of who walked alongside me as I learned how to be a mother, that was very supportive. And so I do believe that there's always hope, and I know that it's definitely been a very challenging time. Uh, well, I guess culturally, we've gone through a lot of
Yeah.
there's been a lot of hardship and disconnection, and I guess I would also, yeah, encourage people to seek out those connections, seek out people, even
Hmm.
if even if you're not physically able to meet up, even just sending that simple text message or email to someone that maybe you haven't talked to in a while, that can make the difference, not just
True.
in your life, but theirs too, because a lot of times we don't know what they're going through. Um,
Yeah, you're
and
so
they
right.
and so just even those little bits of connection, I think, make a big difference. and because we need each other, and we're
Mm-hmm.
built for community. So I think just having a support system would just help us as a just as a community.
Absolutely. Well, I will say you are a very quick learner and you're an amazing mother. So
Oh,
you
thank
have two beautiful children. I just love, yes, they're my grandchildren. I love them dearly, but you guys, yeah, you're an awesome mom. You're wonderful. And I know you're very devoted to them and it shows. So I'm really proud of you. I'm proud of you on so many levels, and I'm going to stop because I'm going to start crying because I am. I'm
oh,
really proud of you.
well, thank you.
So with that said,
Mm.
thank you for being a guest. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so teary eyed. I'm just excited for you. So,
Well, thank you. I
anyway,
appreciate.
thank you for being a guest and thank you for sharing your story. And I am so excited about your book that's going to be coming out, and I've already got people lined up that want to buy it. So when it comes
Oh,
out,
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.